a teacher. Build future now. That's a teacher's job description. And I don't know if everybody can notice, but I'm also sort of an old girl, which means I have already seen some of the future unfold. When I was 8, in 1983, my dad got us our first computer. It was the second computer I had seen in my life, which clearly makes my dad an early adopter. He's an engineer. I am sure he was excited about the possibilities of this technology. But above all, he's a great father, and he wanted to make sure that his children would have the best tools for their education. So he got the computer and he hired a tutor, and we took computer lessons. We studied Logo and Basic. It was fun, it was engaging, but 9 years later, when I finished school, listing Logo or Basic as computer skills would have been ridiculous. And a few weeks ago, I asked my father about this, and he said, well, clearly this had been a bad investment. If he had known that PCs would develop so fast, he wouldn't have bought a Macintosh. But there was no way of knowing. My first years as a teacher were totally devoid of digital technology. I used a chalk and board, and I still remember my excitement when I was given a CD player to replace my old tape recorder. That was an upgrade. By the time the digital revolution was in full bloom, all hell broke loose at schools. There were so many voices telling us what we should be doing, how it should be done, what tools should be implemented. Guess who was never asked? The teachers. To me, the worst thing that happened around that time was that the idea took root, that the challenge of schools is that we are educating for a world we don't know. Children who are in school today will be doing jobs that have not been invented, using tools that have not been imagined yet. So how do we raise children? What do we do now? Educating for a world we don't know. I don't even know if this is true. I think it's just true enough that it was easy to accept. It is undeniable that the pace of change is faster than anything we have experienced before. But is that even relevant? Look, I have no idea what a smartphone will look like in 10 years. For all I know, children who are in school now will have smart chips injected in their bloodstream and they will work by telepathy. But there is a prediction about the future that I can make without a shadow of a doubt. And this is that as long as there's humanity on Earth, what today's children need to succeed tomorrow is exactly the same that you have needed to fulfill your lives, and it is no different from what our ancestors needed to navigate their own circumstances successfully. And let me tell you something else. We have never known more about what allows individuals to thrive. For about 20 years, positive psychology has been using science to study what makes human beings flourish. And I encourage you all to consume this science. It is interesting, it's exciting, and it is transforming. But in a nutshell, what science is telling us is that in order to flourish, we need to be able to establish healthy relationships with ourselves and with others. We need to develop our emotional intelligence. We need to engage in life and find what gives our life meaning. And we need to learn what we're good at and use those strengths to accomplish the goals that make our dreams come true. To me, the most exciting thing about this new knowledge is to discover that happiness is a skill. We can learn it, we can improve it, we can model it and pass it on to younger generations. And you would expect this knowledge to have hit schools with at least as much force as the digital revolution did. But this hasn't happened. Paradoxically, traditional schools may not even be offering the healthiest environment for students or teachers, for that matter, to thrive. And I cannot get deep into this, but schools do tend to be rushed, regimented, and judgmental. And none of these are conditions that allow human skills to develop healthily. Ignoring the importance of well-being and human skills in schools is a disservice to students and to teachers. But I dare say it is a disservice to society as a whole. And I think that this calls for an educational revolution, a positive educational revolution. And the good news is that this is an individual effort. This revolution is not political or ideological. It is inexpensive. It is easily implementable. And it is a shortcut to academic success, creative living, and life satisfaction. The revolution I'm calling for requires that as grown-ups, we assume the responsibility of becoming role models to the young people in our life. But not from a moral pedestal, as we have done before, and not models of perfection, which is impossible to achieve. We need to become models of the human condition. And at this point, you may be asking yourselves, how does an intimate growth process that happens within become an example for the people around us? To me, this is by no other than resorting to the oldest and most powerful communication tool that humanity possesses. It is storytelling. Story is how we have always made sense of the world, and as a species, it is what we have used to pass on the most valuable lessons from generation to generation. As an educator, I was drawn to story for its effectiveness as a teaching tool. I don't want to get too technical, but it is a natural tool for cognitive and linguistic development. It reinforces literacy. It builds up vocabulary. It enhances memory and imagination. All of this desirable. As a global citizen, what attracted me to storytelling was its power to promote tolerance by teaching diversity. So a few years ago, I founded a small company that organizes storytelling programs at schools. We bring professional storytellers and we do shows for children all ages. We organize workshops for students, parents, and teachers. And we help our schools integrate storytelling into their everyday life beyond the day of our visit. But what has lately compelled me to make a stronger case for storytelling both at school and at home is its inexhaustible power, its power, as an emotional development tool. What I knew from the very beginning is that story offers children a very safe environment to rehearse negative emotions. In story, a kid can be afraid without being threatened. They can feel grief without suffering loss. Story is safe because we know that everything will be resolved in the end. But lately, there's an even more major discovery. The activity of storytelling itself actually taps on pretty much every area that science is telling us is crucial for our own flourishing. Do you remember what I said? Healthy relationships, engagement, emotional intelligence, meaning. Storytelling is a two-way experience that demands engagement from the teller and the listener. This connection causes positive emotion, and positive emotions have been proved to open your mind to learning. While we're listening to stories, we are learning about human emotions and processes, and we can resignify the events in our lives to give them meaning. And have you ever heard how children learn more from our actions than from our words? Now, our personal stories are shared in words, but they contain our actions, our processes, and our beliefs. So, storytelling is like a little gift box where we put our souls when we're giving ourselves to others to make relationships. If you want to be a better parent, teacher, aunt, uncle, engage in telling the stories that talk about your life experiences. Pick those events in your life that best portray your humanity, and go share them with the young people around you. And by all means, tell your funny stories, tell about your wins, tell your causes for celebration, but also share your struggles. Talk about that time when you had to try, and you failed, and and you had to try again and failed until you finally got it. Talk about your disappointments. Talk about that mistake you made and how you had to find your way out of it. And share your grief. Just by doing this, you automatically become a model of enjoyment, but also of vulnerability, of resilience, of grit and perseverance. All human skills that are so crucial for our healthy development. Above all, be generous when sharing your dreams and illusions. As human beings, we need to believe that we can be better tomorrow than we have been today. And I think that this is a good starting point. Hvala lijepa.